Showing up is 80% of success. That's not to mention, though, that the last 20% is 80% of the work. But let's talk about this. I remember hearing this idea many years ago, and I just want to drill this idea in your mind a little bit better, such that you can understand it the way I do. Showing up is 80% of success. Let's break this down. For example, how much do you actually sit down and open that book? How much do you actually sit down and write a couple words in your journal, in your book that you're writing, or in whatever project you're working on? How often do you crack open that laptop and start working on your project? How often do you actually show up for it every single day? For all the skills that you want to acquire, for all the traits that you admire, how are you showing up every single day to become who you came here to be? You see, if you've noticed, what I'm trying to get at here, a lot of people don't even show up. Have you noticed this? A lot of people will rather distract themselves into oblivion and succumb to the resistance of their minds rather than just putting that paintbrush to the canvas. What is that thing for you that you are not showing up for, or that you just know you are not showing up for enough? What is that for you? I really want you to pin that down. Make a list. Make a mind map. Make a mind map on what you think is important for you to show up for every single day, such that you can train yourself and become who you came here to be. What is that for you? This episode is a lot like the one I shot a couple months ago, titled Just Start. Because so many of us will have so much resistance around not even being able to just start the endeavor, the project. We will rather do zero. But the thing is that it's another thing that I can remind you of, is that it doesn't matter, if you get only 1 minute in, that is beating the hell out of zero. Because if you just do zero, then you're not creating that pattern, that neural pathway in your brain. It just becomes invisible to you. If you want to make something a part of your life, such that you can actually master it, get good at it, accomplish something, then you have to just pick at it every single day. It doesn't matter, because the thing is that for the things that you do every single day, you give yourself permission to actually create an identity around it. You see, our identities are only able to form around grounded, direct experience. For example, a lot of people, a lot of men do not have an identity of being a like high value male or a male that can attract other women, simply because they do not have a copious amount of direct experience of attracting women. And then as a result, that identity will form. The identity will form around where our direct experience is. And if your direct experience is, being alone, being rejected, not being able to attract women, then that's what your identity is going to be formed around. If you're not careful. That's not always going to be the case. And this is why also visualization helps with whatever identity you want to pick up. Because the brain doesn't recognize the difference between a synthetic experience and an actual experience. But think about the identity of, for example, for me, the identity of a speaker, the identity of a teacher of self-actualization. That identity is only possible to be formed if I give myself a whole lot of direct experience of being that individual. But I first have to start. I actually have to turn on that camera. I have to set myself to a process such that I can speak every day. I put on this red coat to remind myself of who I am. I've attached an identity to this piece of clothing, which is why I wear it in every fucking video. When I put on this coat, I become Christian Vandeos, the teacher, the speaker. Even though it's fucking hot today. So there's a lot more at stake than just getting that extra hour of reading in when you just start something. There's way more at stake than, getting that extra page, that page in. There's a lot more at stake when you're thinking about the decision of showing up or not. Simply because you're risking your identity when it comes to the long-term changes of really creating who you came here to be. It's all about all the activities that are related to the investment of your identity. And so beating the hell out of zero is a identity shifter, because it's what you beat the hell out of zero towards that will determine what direct experience you're feeding yourself. And that direct experience, your mind will then continue to rationalize, like, well, why did I do that? It's like, oh, probably because this is the identity of this human here. This is the identity of this character. So, keeping that consistency such that you can keep that identity is vital here. So to show up every day and to keep doing what you were set out to do Show up to that workout. Show up to those habits. Show up as an individual that says no to the vices. Show up as an individual that focuses, that reads, that doesn't engage in dopamine fishing activities all day. Then you're casting votes every day. And this will stack. When you create copious amounts of direct experience of who you want to be, then that identity will carry you through those times that you don't want to show up. The more you do something, the more likely you're going to be able to do it. And here's another piece of philosophy that I realized, is that when you set out to do something, to do a habit, there's going to be so many things to knock you off track. And I want you to set out your intentions such that as long as I stick to this, I will learn how to fit it in no matter what is thrown at me. Notice that. If you can just have that mentality where it's like every new day where it's like damn near impossible to do, that's another opportunity for me to learn how to solve this puzzle such that I can make sure I get it in even that day. Because somebody else had it even worse and still got it in. What are those habits for you? So even if you're not making big moves right now, and you're not crushing, reading like 4 books a week, or writing 10 pages a day, or whatever the fuck you want to, however you want to crush your habits, doing 500 push-ups a day, whatever it is. Notice that if you don't even show up, then you'll never get there. And the thing is that to get to those high peak moments, you have to take pride in just doing the 1 push-up. You have to take pride in being a level 1. You have to take pride in just doing something rather than nothing. Because you know deep down that doing something is way better than the alternative of doing 0 and then risking the degradation, the destruction of the identity that you want to build. And you can also build the identity of someone that doesn't miss. And then once you can actually do that with 1 habit, then you start to build the identity of someone that just puts the work in, it doesn't do 0. That will spill over into other domains in your life. So, what are the habits for you? What are the needle movers for you? Do those. Show up. I don't give a fuck if it's for 5 minutes. Show up. Nothing's worse than not cracking open your book for like 2 years because you didn't choose to show up fucking once. Trust me. Eventually you'll find that time to show up for like 5 hours a day for that book. But you will easily forget about it if you don't just put the effort in now. And another thing too that I have to remind you of is that when you show up every day, then you're also facing the fear of showing up. That's important to understand. Because if we, for example, with a book, if we go away from it too long, the fear can build up so much inside that it becomes too much of a Herculean task in our mind. And then you'll never write that book, and you'll die with the words, with the song still in you. Don't die with the music still in you, as Wayne Dyer says. So what is it gonna be? I don't give a fuck if it's for 1 minute. Show up today. Show up. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.